Well, we are CIE TEFL staff, and today we're going to be talking about CIE TEFL job placement assistance. So we're very excited to share some opportunities. So just a quick introduction. My name is Rachel Dietz. I'm the one in the middle there, of course. I'm a CIE TEFL advisor. I've been working with the company for a few years now. I'm actually an alumni of our CIE Teach Abroad program in Madrid. So I've been on a CIE program before, and very excited to be here to talk a little bit more about TEFL, the courses, and then just the job placement opportunities that we have to offer that have been growing over the last couple of years. So I will also introduce Belen Rojas. She is with us in the call today, but unable to present with us, but she'll be answering some questions throughout the webinar as well. She is the academic manager. She is an absolute star when it comes to taking care of all of our students and just making sure that the courses run smoothly. So again, she's going to be here answering some questions. And she's really the ultimate shining star, truly, when it comes to the job placement assistance. She helps to manage those partnerships that we have that we're going to be talking about today. So thank you to Belen. And I'll let Gabby introduce herself.
All right. Hi, I'm Gabby Polite. I am a program assistant. I'm actually also an alumni of the Teach in Madrid program. And then prior to that, I'm also an alumni of the Teach in Thailand program. So I'm really excited to talk about all the new things that are going on with job placement assistance, along with the ongoing things that we've been doing.
Excellent. All right. So just getting into kind of an introduction about CIEE and CIE Teach Abroad versus CIE TEFL, whether or not you're familiar with our company, I think it's important to kind of go over the basics of this. So first and foremost, CIE is a large international company. We're a nonprofit based out of Portland, Maine. And I think we're most widely known for our college study abroad programs, but of course we have two smaller departments within the CIE name that are dedicated to helping folks teach abroad and get TEFL certified. And I think, of course, main reason for wanting to get into this is so that you can live and work abroad. And so there's really two ways that we help folks to do that. And I think it's really important to know kind of the differences of the opportunities that are available for CIE or through CIE for teaching abroad. So first and foremost, we have our CIE Teach Abroad programs. And like it says on the slide here, what to expect. These are comprehensive and immersive teaching experiences in the following destinations. So we have programs in South Korea, China, Spain, Thailand, and Ireland. And what's great about these programs and what sets us apart is that we really do offer a very high level of support. If you're familiar about the support provided in a study abroad program, it's very similar to how our teach abroad programs are set up. So we have lots of support from pre-departure guidance, support in finding a job placement, and a lot of the opportunities that we have, South Korea, China, Spain, Thailand, Ireland. Sometimes the job is actually guaranteed when you apply to these programs. And then we also have ongoing assistance throughout your teaching tenure. It is true that each program has specific requirements, so important to check those if you're interested in applying to any of those programs. And then, of course, because of the level of support we provide, there are associated fees that are required to be able to participate in those programs. So that is CIE Teach Abroad. Now we have CIE TEFL. CIE TEFL was created as a TEFL provider. So we provide high quality TEFL courses to help qualify folks to teach English as a foreign language, especially in abroad and international settings. Our most popular options are the 150 and 180 hour courses because they are the most comprehensive and offer resources to help find job placement that we're going to be talking about today. The CIE TEFL job placement assistance is one of the most important resources, I think, because it's connecting you directly with jobs that are open and available, right? And we work with reputable employers in Chile, Hungary, Japan, Morocco, and Murcia, Spain, specifically the region of Murcia. So again, these placements are available as a resource and as a service that is included in the TEFL course. So to be able to participate in any of these job placement assistance programs or opportunities, you would need to be a student or an alumni of the 150 or 180 hour courses. That is a requirement. The job placement, unfortunately, is not guaranteed. CIE TEFL does not have a say in employment decisions. And that is done directly with the employer. So they are ultimately the ones that are going to be offering you a job after an interview process, and helping you with the move abroad process. And of course, support is provided directly by the employer, not by CIE TEFL. So that's a huge difference between our CIE Teach Abroad programs that I was talking about before and the CIE TEFL job placement assistance, right? These programs are going to be a little bit more independent because there is not hands-on support from CIE, but they're still really great opportunities. And a lot of times the support's provided by the employer. So it's not that you're not getting support necessarily, but it just looks a little bit different, from point A to point B, on these programs. So let's get into the TEFL courses. I think it's important to talk about like what you're getting yourself into when you sign up for a TEFL course, because again, it is required for the opportunities that we're going to be talking about today. And it's the CIE course is the one that's required. We're unable to accept outside TEFL certificates to be able to participate in these programs. But the first program that I always like to talk about is our 150-hour TEFL course. Tuition is $1,195. This is really the most comprehensive option that we have. It's good for anyone who has some teaching experience already or no teaching experience at all. One perk is that we are offering some discounts for courses that start in March. So if you're interested in getting started, March is a really great time. The reason that we're offering discounts is because that we know that folks that start a TEFL course around this time have a very high success rate of landing teaching positions for a fall start date. So a little bit of incentive there for you guys to get started with a TEFL course sooner than later. What's included? So it's an 11-week course. It's all online. It includes 150 total training hours, of course. You get connected with a cohort of peers. We cap our classes at 16 students. So you get that small course feel. We do have a dedicated course instructor. They are stellar. I think that's one of the biggest things that we hear back in reviews about our course is the interaction and the feedback that's given from our CIE TEFL instructors. Really makes the course for a lot of our students. We also do require a 20-hour practicum component. Practicum just means like a student teaching opportunity so that you can have hands-on teaching experience when you graduate from the TEFL course. And then, of course, like I mentioned before, our TEFL course, because it is 150 hours, it's internationally recognized. We're an accredited institution, so our course has gone under rigorous review. And it also is valid for life. So there's no need to renew this certification. You can use it throughout the length of your career. And then the second course option I always like to explain to is very similar to the 150-hour course, but is another option if you're wanting to partake in a job placement assistance opportunity through CIEE. The 180-hour course is $1,295, so just $100 more. And really, it's a combination of two of our course offerings. So it is the 150-hour course plus the 30-hour age specialization course that we have. So essentially, you're just gaining an age specialization certification to specialize in either teaching young learners, teens, or adults. So again, you're combining two of our courses there into one. And yes, I think Belen helped me out here and she put in the upcoming start dates of March 3rd, March 17th, and March 31st all qualify for that $200 discount that we were talking about. And then you can also check out later start dates. We launch courses every 2 weeks year round. So you really have flexibility to get started when you want, but the discounts are only available for a limited time. Okay. Let's see, I think I'm going to answer one of these questions here before I move on. Do you offer job assistance help for people who already got their TEFL certification outside of CIEE? Unfortunately, no. You're going to need to take the 150 and 180-hour course. The reasoning for this is that is the agreement that we have established with our partners. Of course, our course, again, is accredited. So we are a certified course. And our employers have partnered with us because they support the quality of the course that we provide. And there's a certain guarantee with that with the folks that come out of our course. So it's really important and it's required for you to take the CIE 150 or 180-hour courses to participate in these job placement opportunities. If you already have a TEFL certificate and you're still wanting to teach abroad, I would definitely recommend for you to take a look at the CIE Teach Abroad programs. You don't need to have the CIE TEFL certificate to participate in those programs. Sometimes the TEFL certificate is required, but the CIE TEFL certificate is not always required for Teach Abroad programs. So again, those locations are South Korea, Thailand, China, Spain, and Ireland. And just for clarity, is it necessary to take CIE TEFL course to be able to teach abroad? For these opportunities that we're talking about today, yes. All of the opportunities that we're talking about today, if you want to apply to them, you have to take either the 150-hour CIE TEFL certificate or the CIE 180-hour TEFL certificate. Is it necessary to take a TEFL course to teach abroad in general? No. But it really will depend on where you're wanting to go and the level of flexibility that you're wanting to have from going to country. If you have more questions about that, Belen, would you mind writing the TEFL email in the chat? I think that's a really good place if you have like specific questions about, where you're wanting to go or your personal goals to just send us an email. We're always open to chat with you and to talk more personal details with you. Perfect. Okay, well, moving right along here. Just to kind of go over the general requirements for the job placement assistance, it's very similar to the basic requirements for our teacher abroad programs as well. But you need to have a native level of English. You don't necessarily need to be a native speaker, but you do need to have a very high level of English. In general, you do need to be under the age of 59. And you also do need to have either, again, the CIE 150-hour or the 180-hour TEFL certificate. Preferred qualifications, you definitely, it's recommended to have a bachelor's degree. Most of the programs will require a degree, but we'll talk a little bit more later about some of the options that don't require a bachelor's degree directly. It is important also to have some travel or international experience. Like I was mentioning before, because the support is not provided 100% by CIE TEFL. If you have some prior experience to pull from to help you be successful in moving abroad, that's always helpful. And then also some prior teaching experience. It's not required, but the employers that we work with always like to see that. And if you have any type of like coaching experience or tutoring experience, that's always really great to emphasize and to talk about in the interview process with our employers. So moving on here. And then the CIE TEFL job placement assistance locations. So right now we are partnering with institutions in 5 different countries. This is a huge deal for us. We've been working to expand our partnerships over the last couple of years. So right now we're offering placements in Morocco, in Spain, in Hungary, in Chile, and in Japan. So very, very exciting for us. We're kind of covering a wide range of regions throughout the world with our partnerships right now. And we'll go into talking a little bit more detail about the options here. So first and foremost, I'll go ahead and talk a little bit about our partners in Budapest, Hungary. So yes, the location is going to be within Budapest, which is great. We like the city living. And the teaching role is going to be a full-time co-teacher. So you're going to be in the classroom full-time, 40 hours a week, and you're going to be working side by side with a Hungarian native teacher, right? And you guys will be sharing kind of the classroom duties. Their philosophy is more like one teacher, one language. So I think that's kind of cool that you get to have that close working relationship in the classroom with a native Hungarian teacher. The monthly compensation is around $1,200 US, depending on the exchange rate. And the student age is going to be school age children. The housing, which is really unique for placements in Europe, is actually provided by the employer. A lot of times you'll get a single room, like a room to yourself in a shared apartment. And the roommate will most likely be a teacher that is working in a similar position as you. The perks of this is that you have the potential to also receive a transportation pass and food stipend. So In my opinion, I think this is one of the most competitive compensation packages that you can find in Europe, just from my experience and kind of what we've seen in Europe in general, especially compared to placements in Spain. So this is a very, very unique opportunity. Lots of great opportunities for professional development and growth as a teacher as well. And then the last little bit here is that we actually do work with two separate employers in Hungary. One employer is more traditional teaching position, so you're working in like the K to 12 school system as like a regular school teacher during the day. And the second option is you can choose to work in either a preschool setting or in an after school setting. You get to decide where you want to spend the majority of your time. And then you can also cover classes in the alternative. So like if you pick that you want to work in the after school program for the majority of the time, you can also cover some hours in the preschool as well. So you get to decide what partner you want to work with. We, of course, provide more information about that in the application, but some pretty cool opportunities in Budapest for sure. Moving on here, the eligibility requirements specifically for the placements in Hungary. You must have a bachelor's degree. You must be from either the United States, Canada, Ireland, the United Kingdom, or South Africa. And they do like to see some prior teaching experience or experience in the following areas. So math and science is huge. And then other passions that you can share too, like things like storytelling, arts and crafts, sports, music, drama. Those are all things that are really important to highlight if you are interested in any of these things on your resume and in the interview process. Okay. And the timeline. This is super, super important because you will need to have the CIE 150 or 180-hour course in hand by the time that you depart for Hungary. So we recommend that you start the CIEE TEFL course by March 31st. And then the job will actually start in the beginning of August. That's the typical start date. There are some start dates that will be available September through January, depending on vacancies. This is something that we always encourage you to talk with. Like if you need an alternate start date, you're not able to start at the very beginning of August. We recommend that you talk about this in the interview process with the employer directly. But again, the majority of positions are going to be available to start beginning of August. And then the end date is end of June. So it's the same school year more or less as we experience in the US. Okay. Moving on to the next one, and I'll have Gabby take over and talk a little bit about Murcia.
All right, so the next program that we're going to be talking about is in Spain. So specifically in Murcia, Spain. So as you can see, the compensation is a little less just because of the cost of living is lower in that area and it's a smaller area. So you might also be teaching at two schools potentially just because they need more coverage in this smaller area of Spain. Um, so yeah, like I mentioned, the location is going to be rural in a smaller city, and the role is a part-time language assistant. So it's less hands-on, well, not less hands-on, I guess less time hands-on. So it's going to be about 14 to 16 hours per week in the classroom. And the majority you can teach from age ranges in preschool, primary, secondary students. There are some vocational schools available, but most of the time you might be placed within preschool, primary, secondary area. Um, and then, like I mentioned, the monthly compensation, 800 to 915 euros per month, or 870 to 1,000 US dollars, depending on um, the time. And then housing is not provided in Murcia, Spain. Um, this is also a very good opportunity for more independent and more experienced travelers because, like Rachel mentioned, we do have the Teach Abroad program in Madrid, Spain, and then another volunteer program in Castilla y León. But specifically, this opportunity is in Murcia. It will be more of a rural area, very ideal for more independent and more experienced people looking to dive deep into the local culture of a small town in Spain. Again, like I mentioned, because it's a part-time position, so one of the perks are the complete part-time schedule, and then you'll always have 3-day weekends. And then if you want to jump ahead. So the eligibility requirements for Murcia, Spain, they accept quite a few citizenship um, areas. So as you can see, there are a lot of opportunities for people around the world to participate in this one with us. And you must have at least 2 years of college or university experience or an associate's degree. So you don't need a bachelor's degree. But like I mentioned, if you have some history in tutoring, teaching, um, and then of course your associates at least, then this is a great opportunity for you. But ultimately, no prior teaching experience is required with this one. And then as far as the timeline goes, we do have starting dates in October and then ending dates around May. So definitely keep that in mind, but it's important to be able to start your TEFL course and have that before you're leaving. So ideally starting it by March 31st would be an ideal date to start with. And if Rachel, if there's anything else that you think needs to be added there as well.
Yeah, so someone just asked in the question and answer, what's the difference between teacher bred programs and the assistant programs? I think Mercia is a perfect example to demonstrate the difference between CIE teacher bred programs versus CIE TEFL job placement assistance, because we do have two opportunities in Spain specifically. So for example, we have the CIE teacher bred program in Madrid, and then we have the CIE TEFL job placement assistance in Murcia. So the actual role that you're fulfilling is going to be very similar. You're a language assistant, you're working 16 hours a week, you always have a 3-day weekend. And again, you're an assistant in the classroom, so the teaching role is exactly the same. But how CIE provides assistance to you is very different. So in the CIE Teacher Bred program in Madrid, we provide very, very hands-on support with moving to Spain. So if you're looking for an institution like CIE or a third-party provider to offer you assistance with visa guidance, the pre-departure support, in-country support, in-country orientation, connecting you with people that are also doing the program. The program in Madrid is going to be perfect for that. There are associated fees with that, so that program is more expensive, essentially. The CIE TEFL job placement assistance in Murcia is going to provide a lot less support. So if you've already been to Spain before, or you have a lot of travel experience, this is going to be a really great opportunity. It's cheaper because there are no program fees associated with, as long as you take the 150-hour TEFL course. That's the only fee that's going to be associated with that. And we have direct contact with the providers in Murcia. So we're essentially just connecting you right away and getting you a job. The only thing too is that the starting dates in Murcia are only in October. So again, main differences between CIE Teacher Abroad and the TEFL job placement assistance is the level of support that's provided by CIE directly. So that's something to keep in mind as we're talking about these opportunities. Let's see. We're getting some questions about Murcia here. I think I'll answer this next one about Murcia specifically, since we're on this. Is comfortable housing easy to find in Murcia? What's the average cost? This is something that unfortunately we don't really help with, to be completely honest. Housing in all of Spain, whether you're staying in Madrid or whether you're staying in Murcia, is going to be something that's your responsibility. And the language assistance is very common in Spain. So is finding housing easy? As long as you're diligent about it, you are going to find housing. I don't know if I would say that it's easy. It's something that is going to be probably the most difficult part about moving abroad. But it is possible, especially if you reach out to folks at your school, look for resources online, book accommodation in advance of going to Murcia. We always recommend that you secure either like an Airbnb, a hostel, or a hotel for the first couple of weeks after arrival, so that you have a place to stay while you're looking for housing. But yeah, that is definitely something that is going to take a little bit of extra legwork wherever you go in Spain, not just Murcia. Average cost, I would say, right now for Madrid, we're saying that the average cost is anywhere from like 400 to 600 euros a month. But this, of course, varies. The cost of living in Murcia is much lower than it is in Murcia. Or sorry, the cost in Madrid is much higher than it is in Murcia. So I would expect the rent would be a little bit lower than that. And yes, I think Belen just put in some various housing options there. So definitely do your due diligence and take a look at the housing options for Murcia. One thing I will say though, never put down a deposit on a place before you arrive in person in Spain. That would be my biggest piece of advice there. Okay. I think there's some more questions here that are not related to Murcia. I'm going to go through the rest of the placements, and then we'll talk more kind of general questions, since that kind of seems is the way that the questions are going in the question box right now. So I'll let Gabby talk, or actually I will be talking a little bit about Japan. So placement details for Japan. So location, you're going to be either in rural or small city living throughout Japan. It is a full-time teaching position, option to either be a lead or assistant teacher. So you kind of get the choice there. The student age, this is kind of unique. You really could be teaching any age range from young children all the way through adults, depending on what students are coming to the language center at the time that you're teaching. The compensation is pretty competitive at around $1,400 US, depending on the exchange rate there. And that's the starting salary. So this is something that, could be higher depending on your qualifications and just the general interview process that you go through with the employer directly. The housing is affordable housing available. So our understanding is that there is some help with housing and to make sure that you're able to locate affordable housing in Japan. And then the perks are that you can also receive a stipend to offset the cost of flights potentially to Japan as well, which is really cool. Just like our partners in Budapest, we also do work with 2 employers in Japan, and you also get the choice in the application process to choose which partners you'd like to work with. So our first partnership is going to be kind of more of a general placement. You could be placed anywhere throughout Japan. It is a lead teaching position. And then the second employer that we work with is specifically working out of the Nagano prefecture in Japan. So it's a little bit more specific about where you could be placed. And you're going to be an assistant teacher. So some important things to keep in mind there. And of course, there's more information provided in the application about kind of the differences between these 2 employers. But this is kind of the general get down here. The eligibility requirements, you must have a bachelor's degree. I think the specifics here is that it has to be a bachelor's degree from an English speaking country. There are no citizenship requirements as long as you have that bachelor's degree component. And then the preferred qualifications, they would like you to have some experience with the Japanese language and culture. And then also just a to be very passionate about Japanese culture in general. That's very important to them. And then another thing to keep in mind too is that they also want you to be passionate about business. So helping their business to grow, like promoting their students to take more classes, how they can continue to improve their English, to sell, more books and resources to your students. That's also a really important component above and beyond just being a language teacher. They want you to help grow and increase sales in their business. And then the Japan timeline. Best thing about Japan is that you can apply anytime during the year. There's no end date. The applications are rolling throughout the year. Positions start every month of the year, and then you are most often offered a 1-year renewable contract. So there's opportunities to stay in Japan if you wanted to after being issued an initial contract. So a lot of flexibility there. I think what we see is that most teaching positions start in the fall. So if you're looking for more of like an off season, like you want to start in January 2026, this might be a great option for you because of the flexibility. One thing I do want to mention about Japan though, is that the positions there are extremely competitive. So that's important to have in mind that we do not guarantee job placement in Japan under any circumstances. And it's really up to the interview process and your compatibility and ultimately the decision of the employers in Japan when it comes to being hired. Okay. Moving on to Santiago, and I'll turn it back over to Gabby.
All right. So in Santiago, Chile, it's going to be the city living in Santiago. So less of a small town feel and more of you're right in the city of Santiago. Um, the role is back to full time. So what's interesting about this one is most courses are actually conducted online. So um, that's what's a little different and what sets it apart from the other one. So you'll be also teaching adults typically, which is another interesting thing. So instead of, primary, secondary, like a couple of the other programs necessarily go for, this one is really cool because it's specifically adults teaching that you'll be teaching. Um, and then again, the monthly compensation, 800 to 915 euros or 807 to 1,000 euros, depending you know, on the time frame. And then as far as housing goes, it is not provided in Santiago, so that will ultimately be up to you. Um, and another thing is with Santiago, the flexibility with your work schedule is very visible. So that's one of the perks that they have. And there's also a lot of opportunities to learn Spanish there. So one thing to note though is um, as far as the visa application process goes, it'll take a long time. So make sure you're keeping that in mind if you're planning and you want to go teach in Chile. This is definitely a process that might be longer than others. So definitely plan ahead. And yeah, Rachel, if there's anything you want to add for the introduction to Santiago.
I think that's
If
good.
not,
Thanks.
I'll keep going. Okay. And then as far as the eligibility requirements go, so you can see must have a bachelor's degree, similar to the other programs as far as citizenship goes. We do accept U.S., UK, South Africa, as far as we also accept other citizenships potentially, but you will be required to record a video and go through more so to be able to prove your English level if you're not from those specific countries. And then again, preferred qualification, it's essential to have spoken and written Spanish skills as well, would be nice.
Yeah, some reference of Spanish is always good to have. Okay.
And then, yeah, similar to the program that Rachel just talked about. So we do accept applications on a rolling basis year round. Positions can start year round, and they will be 10 to 12-month contracts, but just want to reiterate how long the visa process can take. So depending on when you want to go, definitely be thinking about that it could take anywhere from 8 to 18 months in order to get that paperwork.
Oh, I think before we move on to Morocco, I'll go back to this slide really quick. Belen is saying that Chile also accepts candidates with 2 years of college level courses, just the same as Murcia. So if you don't have a bachelor's degree, Chile is also a great option to teach abroad.
Perfect.
Cool. Moving on.
All right. And now for our um, recently added program, which we're really, really excited about in Morocco. So in Mohammedia, it will be small city living, and you will be full-time teacher. So your role will be in the classroom the entire week. You could potentially be teaching to all ages. Your monthly compensation will be about $900 approximately. But it's extremely important for this program. I think would be really, really great for people who are experienced in living abroad and who have a bit of experience. It's very important, specifically in the city, in this role, and in Morocco, ultimately, to be very aware of their culture in the local city and be open to that perspective and be willing to have that openness and be embracing everything that you see there. Um, and then, yeah, as far as eligibility requirements, um, this one you must have a bachelor's degree with citizenship. We accept from US, Canada, Ireland, UK, Australia, or New Zealand. Um, And then again, as far as qualifications go, some paid or volunteer experience within teaching is required, or experience living abroad is very strongly preferred, just because they want to make sure that the candidates have experience in traveling or have that open mindedness that is quite necessary with stepping into a completely new perspective in a new country like Morocco. And then within the Morocco timeline, um, it would be essential to kind of start your TEFL course by March 31st. So we do have starting dates in September, mostly. It is possible to get openings in January, but it really just depends on the openings um, that we have to honor the request of our partners. So most of the time, you'll be able to find openings in September, but again, January options are there, just a little bit limited, and then you'll be ending in July.
Okay, and that concludes kind of our main presentation here. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the question box. While folks are typing those out, and I see I have one question in the box already to answer, and I will get to that in just a second. But we would encourage you to follow us on Instagram and TikTok. Of course, we post about our CIEE Teach Abroad programs there quite a bit. But we also do talk about the TEFL course and the job placement opportunities, like if we have any updates about our partnerships or anything like that, or updates about deadlines, things like that, we try to put that on the Instagram and TikTok accounts as well. So really great place to just stay connected and get in touch with other teachers that are out teaching abroad as well. One of the questions that's in the box that I've left here for the end is, if we go through the CIEE TEFL course, and then is that certification usable with non-CIEE placement partners? Absolutely. The CIEE TEFL course is internationally recognized, valid for life. You do not have to do a CIEE Teach Abroad program. You do not have to do a CIEE job placement opportunity. Those are not required at all. And you can use your TEFL certificate through CIEE to participate in any other placement opportunity that comes your way. So really flexible there. Again, we are an accredited institution. Accreditation in the world of TEFL is really like quality control. And so CIEE TEFL is actually recognized because of our accreditation by the US Department of Education, which is why that you can use your TEFL certificate through us for any placement opportunity, even placements in the US. If you're looking to put that on your resume to get a job teaching English in the US as well. Cool. Yeah, so I have someone who does have a bachelor's degree from the US, excellent background in English language. Do I have any options with CIEE? Yes. The two options that we have for folks that do not have bachelor's degrees, like we mentioned before, is the placement in Murcia. It does require, though, 2 years equivalent or an associate's degree. And then we also have the placement opportunity in Chile as well. That has the 2-year equivalent that they accept there. If you have more questions about like opportunities maybe to teach online, or just other general opportunities, I would encourage you to send us an email, and then we can get you in touch and get you in more resources, for teaching abroad or online with a TEFL certificate through CIEE if you don't have a bachelor's degree. Someone's asking, is the information of this deck available to view after the Zoom? I would say, so we're definitely going to send a recording of this webinar so that you can have that. I will look into getting the deck and see if I can send that to you guys. Just because we've promised to send the webinar recording to all registrants. I want to make sure that I can get that out, but the recording will be available for sure. And of course, this information is all on our website as well. A lot of the information on the slides, in fact, even more in-depth information is available on our website. So actually, Belen, would you mind putting the CIEE TEFL job placement assistance webpage link, in the chat so that people can view that? One of my favorite parts about that webpage is that it gives a little snapshot of like who these opportunities would be great for. So really good to view that information and to look through the website as well. Perfect. I'm seeing no more questions as of now. I will take this opportunity as well to say that, and let me see if I can get the link too. We are having another webinar tomorrow about placements specifically in Asia. So if you're interested in teaching in Asia, maybe you came for Japan and you're looking for more, we are going to have another informational webinar specifically about teaching in Asia tomorrow. So let me go find that link. And I can send that to you. Again, if you register for our webinars, we always send the recordings afterwards. So always good, even if you're not able to attend live, although we do appreciate live attendance, to just register so that you can get the link sent to you afterwards with the recording. Okay, I'm putting this in the chat. General webinar link. Perfect. Oops, I sent that too. Okay. Will you be going over Thailand tomorrow? Yes, we'll be going over Thailand and South Korea for sure tomorrow. We'll also be touching on China a little bit. And I will probably also touch a little bit about Japan as well tomorrow. Well, the Q&A with the resource links. That's a good point. So we get that downloaded. I will make sure to send out some more like resources and links that we've shared throughout this webinar in the email as well. So yes, we will pack the email with the recording and then with also resources that we've mentioned today. It's a good question. Great. Well, I really appreciate everyone who came today. We're very excited about our placement opportunities. If you have any questions, I know that we threw a lot of information at you today, so don't be shy to reach out. We're always here to help. You can always schedule a call. And so, yeah, we're here to help. So thank you very much for coming today. I see one more question here. I'm going to say to this last question, and I'll type my answer here. Just to send an email to us, because I think this is more of a personal question that we can answer better through email. Perfect. All right. Well, I'm going to stop my share here. All right. Thank you guys so much for coming today. If you have any questions, tefl@ciee.org. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok, and we'll see you guys again soon. Okay.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye. So I'm going to share my screen. Can you all see my screen here? Gabby, does it look okay?
Yes, looks good to me.
All right.